Early morning light spills gently across the floor as she lifts the soft cloth, wiping dust from the mirror in her bedroom. It's a quiet routine, one she's repeated for years without thought. But today, something feels different. In the mirror, beyond the reflection of wrinkled sheets and the flicker of sunlight, she sees her own face, and a question begins to whisper inside her. Why don't I feel at home in my own home anymore? Some houses offer more than shelter. The moment you step inside, your shoulders drop, your breath softens, and you feel, without knowing why, that life flows a little easier here. These are homes that hold you, lift you, and quietly enrich every corner of your life. But then there are houses that seem to close in. The air feels still. You wake up tired. The days blur. Money leaves faster than it comes, arguments start for no reason, and joy becomes a visitor, not a resident. We rarely suspect the house itself. We change furniture, we repaint walls, we buy scented candles, open windows, light incense. But sometimes none of that helps. Because what if it's not just about decoration or comfort? What if your house, its shape, its breath, its unseen energy, has been quietly writing the story of your life? The rich know this. They don't just buy homes, they read them. They choose places that nourish, protect, and grow their wealth, not just in money, but in clarity, calm, and opportunity. And most of all, they don't talk about it. Today, you will hear what they often keep quiet. 6 powerful signs that a house can either bless or block your future, and how to listen before it's too late. 1 house direction. When light gets stuck, luck gets lost. Have you ever lived in a house where everything felt just a little harder than it should be? You wake up tired, the air feels heavy, your plans stall, and even your best efforts seem to dissolve into nothing. You check your habits, your mindset, your schedule, but never suspect the front door. Yet in Feng Shui, that's exactly where the story begins, because the direction your house faces is not just a line on a compass. It's the very mouth through which life energy enters your space. And if that mouth is blocked, misaligned, or pointed in the wrong direction for your energy type, then everything that happens inside the home will be struggling upstream. The richest people understand this intimately. That's why they never guess when choosing a home. They don't rely on how pretty the windows are or how spacious the kitchen feels. They begin with one question: does this house face the right way for me? Feng Shui teaches that each person carries a unique energy blueprint based on their birth year and elemental type: wood, fire, earth, metal, or water. This personal element is not just a label. It determines how you receive and interact with the energy around you. And your home's direction either aligns with it or clashes. When the alignment is wrong, it's like living in a room full of stale air. Your thoughts grow foggy. Your body tires easily. Success seems close but unreachable. On the other hand, when the direction supports you, everything flows. Ideas come faster. Rest feels deeper. You speak with more clarity. Money doesn't just arrive, it stays. Relationships feel like partnerships, not power struggles. And over time, you begin to experience a quiet but steady expansion in every part of your life. But let's get specific. Imagine a woman whose element is metal. She's thoughtful, structured, resilient. Her ideal home direction is northeast or southwest, directions that offer grounded, calm, stabilizing energy. But she falls in love with a bright house that faces south. It's beautiful, airy, and full of light, but the direction is ruled by fire, the element that melts metal. She doesn't notice anything wrong at first. But slowly she begins to feel agitated. Her focus slips. Her relationships grow strained. Money becomes harder to manage. Her own metal essence, her calm, her organization, her clarity begins to erode. She blames work. She blames stress. But the truth is simpler and more powerful. The house is breathing in a rhythm that conflicts with her own. Now imagine the opposite. A man with the fire element finds a home facing south, the exact match for his essence. He walks in and feels awake, alive, focused. The house seems to fuel him. He feels a drive to create, to speak, to move forward. And when challenges arise, they feel like sparks, not setbacks. That's alignment. And it's not a coincidence, it's choice. The right direction is like giving your energy a steady wind at its back. The wrong one is like walking into a storm every day. And here's what's even more dangerous. You might not feel the misalignment at first. Many people report feeling excited, even energized in a new home, even if the direction is wrong. That's because change itself carries momentum. But over time, the house's true energy takes over. And if it's not compatible with yours, it slowly begins to undo you. Subtle things first: sleep, digestion, mood. Then come the larger patterns: missed chances, financial holes, emotional distance. Until one day you wonder how life got this tangled and forget to look at the compass. So how do you know what direction is right for you? Start with your birth year according to the lunar calendar. Identify your element. Then match it with the house direction. Fire aligns with south, wood with east or southeast, water with north, metal with west or northwest, and earth with northeast or southwest. These directions are not just coordinates, they are gateways through which your life energy breathes. Stand at the main door of your home. Face outward, that's your house's direction. Then ask, does this support me or slowly wear me down? And what if the house is already yours? What if you love the home but the direction clashes with your element? You don't have to move. Feng Shui isn't about fear, it's about adjustment. You can soften the impact of a clashing direction with interior remedies. Use the elements, colors, materials, textures that feed your own energy. If your house faces the wrong way for your type, bring in your element through design. Earth tones for earth types, metal frames and white for metal, wood and green for wood, water features and blues for water, candles and red for fire. Place symbolic objects near the entrance, like a bagua mirror to deflect, or a plant to gently guide energy flow. But the most important shift is awareness. The moment you recognize that your home's direction is shaping your energy every single day, you begin to reclaim power. You stop blaming yourself for feeling off and start listening to the space around you. You realize that success isn't just about effort, it's about flow. And when your home's direction aligns with your energy, effort becomes joy. Rest becomes replenishment. Luck stops feeling random, it becomes rhythm. The rich don't leave this to chance. They align before they invest. They don't just buy homes, they choose energetic allies. And now you can, too, start with a compass. Look at your door, feel the wind. Let the house tell you its story, and then decide if that's the story you want to live. 2 house shape, a shell that protects or a kite torn by wind? Shape matters more than you think. It's not just about aesthetics or architectural style. It's about the way your home holds and moves energy. Imagine your house as a shell, a container that protects your life force and shapes the flow of fortune. When the shape is balanced, square or rectangular, it acts like a calm lake, steady and clear. Energy moves freely, settles comfortably, and nourishes all who live inside. But when the shape is odd, L-shaped, triangular, or uneven, it becomes like a kite torn by wind, flapping erratically, unable to hold steady. The energy inside struggles, twists, and often escapes before it can nourish. This might sound abstract, but the consequences are very real. Think about a river flowing through flat land, smooth, gentle, nurturing life along its banks. Now picture that river hitting a sharp bend or jagged rocks. The water churns, stagnates, or rushes away too fast, losing its life-giving power. Your home's shape works the same way. A missing corner or sharp angle creates pockets where energy becomes trapped or scattered. These dead spots can lead to unexpected troubles, financial leaks, family discord, health woes, because the life energy never fully circulates or stays. Homes with strange shapes often carry an invisible weight. Imagine living in an L-shaped house where one wing feels missing or incomplete. Residents often report a persistent sense of lack, not just in money, but in harmony and peace. This shape in Feng Shui symbolizes absence and imbalance, like a body missing a vital part. Anxiety, restlessness, even small accidents become more common as energy fails to find its path. But the damage is not permanent. Awareness is the first step to healing. When you visit a house, don't just walk through rooms, study the layout from above if possible. Is the shape whole and balanced, or are there sharp cuts, missing sections, or odd protrusions? The richer the imbalance, the more likely energy is disrupted. Fortunately, Feng Shui offers remedies. If your home has an awkward shape, you can restore balance through thoughtful design. Place round or soft objects in sharp corners to soften energy. Hang wind chimes or curtains to gently move stagnant air. Use plants to fill empty spots and create flow. Light strategically positioned lamps to brighten and round out tight angles. These simple changes can transform how energy flows, making your home feel like a true sanctuary rather than a place of tension. Shape is a silent architect of your fortune and well-being. Just as a kite that flies smoothly depends on even tension and balance, your home's shape must support steady energy flow. When it does, you will feel it. Greater ease, clearer thinking, calmer relationships, and more abundant life. When it doesn't, even the brightest colors or finest furniture cannot mask the underlying unrest. The secret the rich keep is simple. They choose homes that protect their energy like a perfect shell, not ones that scatter it to the wind. Now you know what to look for. Don't settle for a home that tears your energy apart. Choose a shape that holds you steady, that catches the good fortune and lets it rest inside, growing quietly day by day. 3 size versus people, spacious or spiritless. The size of your home can be a blessing or a silent thief. It's easy to assume that bigger means better, more room for comfort, more space for dreams. But in Feng Shui, a house too large for its occupants can become a cavernous shell, hollow and cold, where energy disperses and weakens. Think of your personal energy like a flame. In a small space, the flame dances bright and warm, touching every corner. In a vast, empty hall, it flickers weakly, lost in the emptiness. When your home is too big for the number of people living there, your energy cannot fully fill it. Instead, it scatters, leaving patches of cold, stagnant air that drain vitality. This dilution of energy is more than metaphor. Every person carries an invisible field of energy, a personal aura that feeds and balances the space around them. When many people live together in harmony, their energies blend into a vibrant pool that animates the home. But when a few souls inhabit a sprawling space, that pool thins out, like salt dissolved in a bucket of water. The taste disappears. The effect is subtle but profound. You may notice feelings of loneliness despite company, restless sleep, or a sense that something vital is missing. Wealth does not accumulate easily. Motivation fades. The home becomes a place of echoing footsteps rather than warm gathering. In practical terms, the problem worsens when parts of the house are unused or forgotten. Rooms left closed for days or weeks collect stagnant energy, turning into cold spots that pull down the entire home's spirit. Long, empty hallways and shadowed corners become traps for misfortune. Even a beautiful house can feel oppressive if its size overwhelms its inhabitants' ability to connect and energize every space. The key to balance is proportional living. Feng Shui advises matching your home's size to your household. For 2 to 3 people, an ideal range is about 80 to 120 square meters, 860 to 1290 square feet. This size is not about luxury, but about creating a container where energy can circulate smoothly, where every room breathes and every corner feels alive. If you already live in a large home, the solution is to fill it with life and intention. Open curtains to invite sunlight into every room. Walk through each space regularly, even if it's not part of your daily routine. Clean and care for all areas, including the corners often overlooked. Bring in plants, wind chimes, or soft sounds to keep energy flowing and prevent it from becoming stagnant. The house, after all, is not just walls and floors. It's a living energy field. When you actively engage with every part of your home, you build a web of warmth and connection that sustains and nurtures. Your energy spreads more evenly, anchoring fortune and well-being. Neglect allows coldness and shadow to gather, inviting fatigue and frustration into your life. Beyond physical remedies, this size-energy balance teaches a deeper truth. Abundance is not about having more space. It's about feeling whole within the space you have. Many people find that downsizing to a smaller, cozier home awakens their spirit and focus in ways a mansion never could. The intimacy of smaller spaces creates a fertile ground for relationships, creativity, and prosperity to flourish. But what if your dreams require space? If you are planning for a growing family or envision frequent gatherings of loved ones, a larger home can be a blessing if it is designed and lived in intentionally. Divide large spaces into smaller, functional zones. Give each area a purpose and personality. Keep rooms bright and inviting. Encourage regular movement through the home so no area becomes cold or forgotten. In this way, a big house can become many small homes within itself, each alive with energy and life. The richest people know this balance well. They do not simply buy the biggest house they can afford. Instead, they invest in homes that feel right for their lives, their rhythms, and their energy. Because a home that's too big for its inhabitants is like a fire without fuel, spreading cold rather than warmth. So before you chase space for space's sake, listen to your home. Does it feel full or hollow, welcoming or empty? Walk every corner, feel the air. Notice if any rooms seem to sigh or close off. Then choose to live fully within your space, no matter its size. Because true wealth grows not in square meters, but in the life and energy flowing through them. For the front of the house, a mouth that can't speak to prosperity. The front of your house is more than just an entrance. It's the mouth of your home, the place where energy speaks, where life arrives or is stopped cold. Imagine trying to speak while your mouth is covered, muffled, or blocked. The words won't flow. The message gets lost. Your voice becomes weak, tired, and unheard. The same happens when the front of your house is obstructed by a towering tree, an imposing wall, or a cluttered gate. The energy, the very life force that brings wealth, health, and happiness, finds no way in. It stalls outside, like a visitor left waiting in the rain. In Feng Shui, the front yard and doorway are called the bright hall, the clear space that invites good fortune to pause before entering your home. This is where your house greets the world, and the world decides whether to bring you gifts or not. When this space is open, well-lit, and uncluttered, energy flows smoothly. It breathes, dances, and settles. your home feels alive. Your heart feels lighter. Your day begins with a quiet assurance that luck is waiting just beyond the door. But what if the front feels closed, cramped, or dark? Maybe an old tree has grown too close, blocking sunlight. Maybe a neighbor's wall presses heavily against your gate. Perhaps electric poles or clutter crowd your view. These are subtle signs that your home's mouth is covered. Energy strains to get in. It fights against barriers, losing momentum. And since wealth is a form of energy, prosperity follows the same pattern. You work hard but feel stuck. Money slips through your fingers. Opportunities come but don't stay. The air inside feels heavy, making even simple joys harder to find. The danger is that many people don't notice this blockage because it's invisible. We see trees, walls, and poles every day, normal parts of the neighborhood. But what's unseen is the way these obstacles press on your home's energy field, closing the door quietly and slowly. Over time, this creates a feeling of being boxed in, restricted, or exhausted. Your spirit grows restless. Your relationships strain under invisible pressure. Financial flow stalls like a river dammed by unseen rocks. The rich, however, are keenly aware of this mouth energy. They choose homes with a clear front, where energy is welcomed, not resisted. They maintain the entrance meticulously, keeping it clean, bright, and open. They know a single potted plant, a soft, glowing lamp, or a small water feature near the door can open pathways for fortune. Even a well-chosen doormat or a clean, unobstructed walkway becomes a signal that you are ready to receive. If you find your home's front blocked, don't despair. Start by clearing away clutter and trimming plants that block light. Add warm lighting to lift the darkness of early mornings and late evenings. Place a fresh flower pot or a welcoming ornament near your door. Use Feng Shui tools like a Bagua mirror carefully to deflect harmful energy coming from opposite structures. These small actions invite energy back into flow. Better yet, step outside your door and stand still for a moment. Breathe deeply. Notice how the air feels. Is it open and easy or tight and heavy? Does sunlight reach your face or is it shadowed by obstacles? These sensations are clues from your home's energy speaking to you. Remember, your front door is the mouth that tells your house's story. When it can't speak, your life feels muted. When it opens freely, prosperity finds its way in. Choose to clear the path, to open the gates, and invite fortune to enter, not as a guest passing through, but as a beloved family member staying for good. 5. Water stillness gathers wealth. Force washes it away. Water is the blood of fortune. It flows, carries, and nourishes, just like money and energy in your life. But not all water is created equal. In Feng Shui, water can be a gentle healer or a harsh thief, depending on how it moves around your home. The secret lies in stillness and flow. Calm, steady water gathers wealth, while rushing, forceful water scatters it like dry leaves in the wind. Imagine holding a cup of water in your hands. If you hold it carefully, the water stays. But squeeze your hands tight or shake them and the water spills away. Your home's water, whether it's a natural stream nearby, a pond, or an indoor fountain, works the same way. When water flows gently, curves softly, and pauses to gather, it acts as a container for good fortune. When it rushes straight, fast, and aggressively, it pushes prosperity away before it can settle. Homes with calm water nearby, a still pond, a slow-moving stream, or a gently bending river often carry a steady, nourishing energy. The water acts like a magnet, pulling positive energy inward, holding it close and allowing life to thrive. Such homes tend to support long-term wealth, smooth business ventures, and peaceful family life. This is why in many cultures, People prize properties with views of tranquil water. Conversely, homes exposed to fast-moving water, whether a drainage canal, a sharp downhill stream, or a fountain that shoots water directly at the door, are vulnerable to scattered energy. The rushing water is like a storm that erodes foundations, washing away financial stability and emotional calm. Residents often experience money coming and going too quickly, persistent stress, and a sense of being unsettled or overwhelmed. This concept applies not only to natural water, but also to artificial water features inside or near your home. An indoor fountain with water flowing straight toward the front door can create a destructive flow, no matter how beautiful it looks. The energy is pushed away rather than drawn in, creating imbalance and loss. So how can you tell if water around your home is friend or foe? Observe its movement carefully. Does it meander gently around your property, creating soft curves? Does it pause in a pond or pool, gathering before it moves on? Or does it rush straight at your front door or along a sharp channel, never slowing? The first type invites prosperity to settle. The second drives it away. If you find destructive water flow near your home, you don't have to abandon the place. Feng Shui offers practical remedies. Plant low greenery like shrubs or bamboo near the entrance to soften and redirect the water's force. Place a large stone or Feng Shui statue where the water rushes in to act as a barrier, deflecting strong energy. Rearranging indoor water features so that water flows in gentle curves or circles helps create a cycle of return, bringing energy back to you. The message is clear. Water should nurture, not rush, collect, not scatter. When water moves with grace and calm around your home, it reflects a life that gathers, not wastes, its riches. When it pounds relentlessly, it warns you to pause, adjust, and protect what you've built. The richest people know that wealth flows like water, not a torrent to be forced, but a gentle stream to be guided. They don't just look at the size or beauty of water features. They watch how water moves, feeling its rhythm like a secret language. And by aligning their homes with this rhythm, they invite fortune to stay, grow, and flow through their lives, steadily, peacefully, and abundantly. 6. Living energy. When a house is a place to stay but not to live. A house is more than bricks and mortar. It's a living organism, breathing with the energy of those who dwell within and the world that surrounds it. This energy, often called living energy or Kai in Feng Shui, is the unseen spirit that distinguishes a mere shelter from a true home. Without it, even the grandest mansion can feel cold and hollow, a place to stay but not a place to live. Living energy is subtle yet powerful. It's found in the morning sunlight filtering through leaves, the gentle rustle of trees in the breeze, the laughter of children playing nearby, the quiet hum of life unfolding naturally. It's a harmony between nature and human presence, between the tangible and intangible. When living energy flows freely, you feel a deep sense of belonging and peace as soon as you step inside. Your mind clears, your heart lightens, and your spirit breathes. But what happens when living energy is blocked or absent? Imagine a house surrounded by concrete walls, choked by noise, or situated in a neighborhood where tension hangs thick in the air. The energy becomes stagnant or heavy, making residents restless, anxious, or disconnected. Sleep becomes elusive. Joy feels distant. Even small irritations feel magnified, and a vague dissatisfaction settles in as if the house itself is weary. The difference between a vibrant home and a hollow one lies not in size or luxury, but in the quality of living energy. Ancient cultures spoke of dragon veins or Feng Shui landforms, places where the earth's life force naturally flows and gathers. These sites pulse with vitality, drawing not only good fortune but also health, creativity, and harmony. Choosing land with strong living energy is the foundation for a thriving home, more important than architectural style or expensive finishes. So how can you sense living energy in your surroundings? Start by paying attention to your own feelings. Visit your neighborhood at different times, early morning, midday, and evening. Notice how the air feels on your skin, the sounds that fill the space, and the movement of life around you. Are the streets quiet and peaceful or noisy and chaotic? Do birds sing nearby? Are neighbors friendly, calm, and connected? These signs reveal the invisible pulse of the place. If you already live in a home with weak living energy, don't despair. You can nurture and restore it. Open windows often to let fresh air circulate. Bring nature inside with healthy plants and fresh flowers. Keep your home clean and clutter-free to allow energy to move unhindered. Create small rituals that bring joy, lighting candles, playing soft music, or simply sitting quietly to breathe and listen. These actions invite energy to awaken and flow. Most importantly, be mindful of what you bring into your space. Negative emotions, arguments, and clutter act like blockages, disrupting the flow of living energy. Just as you clean your body, clean your home's energy regularly. Discard broken items, store shoes neatly, and avoid dragging the weight of outside worries into your sanctuary. The richest people understand that living energy is the secret thread weaving all aspects of life together. They don't just buy houses, they seek homes where life feels full and natural, where every day begins with a breath of renewal. Because when living energy thrives, so does everything it touches: health, happiness, relationships, and prosperity. Your home can be more than a place to sleep. It can be a place to live deeply, to grow, to heal. Listen carefully. Feel the energy around you, and choose to invite life in, not just into the walls, but into your heart. A home is never just four walls and a roof. It is the silent witness to every whispered hope, every heavy sigh, every dream held close in the quiet hours. It carries the echoes of laughter and the weight of unseen worries. It cradles our moments of peace, and sometimes it holds our unrest too. But what if your house is not just a place you live in, but a presence that lives with you? What if it could nurture your soul as tenderly as a mother's embrace, or hold your spirit steady like an ancient tree rooted deep in the earth? Many of us go through life unaware of this living conversation between ourselves and the space around us. We rush through mornings, close doors without a thought, and forget to listen to the subtle language of light and shadow, air and silence. Yet if we pause, even for a moment, we might hear it: the gentle invitation in the morning breeze, the quiet encouragement of sunlight slipping through a window, the soft pulse of a place that wants to hold us well. Choosing the right home, or transforming the one you have, is not a task of mere chance or luck. It is an act of deep respect for your own energy, your dreams, and the life you wish to live. It is a promise to yourself that you will no longer settle for less than a space that supports your growth, your peace, your joy. So today, as you stand in your home or dream of a new one, ask yourself this: is this place helping me grow or quietly holding me back? Does it brighten my mornings or weigh on my evenings? Am I living fully here or merely existing? The richest secret of all is not in wealth, but in harmony between you and the space you call home. When that harmony is right, every corner breathes with possibility. Every step you take feels lighter. The future unfolds not as a struggle, but as a gentle flow. And if the answer is no, that your home is whispering discomfort, fatigue, or lack, know this: you hold the power to change the story. Through awareness, intention, and simple, mindful actions, you can invite your house to become more than shelter. You can invite it to become a companion, a healer, a guardian of your dreams. In the end, a home is a sacred space, not just of walls and floors, but of heart and spirit. When you honor that truth, you create not just a place to live, but a place to truly be alive. So I leave you with this gentle question to carry with you. If you could choose again, your home, your life, your energy, how would you welcome the light?